How long have you been with the company? 2 months, sir. How much money do you make a week? $200, sir. Well, I've been watching your performance, and I'm very pleased with your work. And starting the beginning of the month, I'm making you Vice President of Operations. And the young man said, "Gee, thank you, Dad. You see this plant? I took it out of the refrigerator to cook with. It's an onion. And it was sprouting so robustly, I didn't have the heart. It wanted to live so badly. And so I got him a pot to call his own. I got him some soil, and look how he's grown. And you see these two blossoms right here? See, there's one. There's one. And here's another one. Did you ever see an onion blossom? It looks like the White Plains High School, that 4th of July. It's a ball of all these glittering parts. It's beautiful. Feathery parts all together. So he's a very happy plant. My brother typewriter is the key stick. And the brother company is the worst company, I think, to try to get any service. They really don't want you to service the typewriter. They really want you to just buy a new one. And where they make their money, of course, is that it costs you $10 a week for ribbons, and it costs you $5 a week for correction tape if you make as many mistakes as I do. So I think that I'll get out on Sunday. I think I'll take it to the resale shop at church and attach its owner's manual. Always keep the owner's manual. And see if somebody can't buy it who is handy at those things and make it work. To do all of the fights for right, that would be Scott and Broder Gannett and Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin, and the Fund for Ancient Courts and Cablevision. And I was able to get them all done except for the fact that a friend of mine had the legal papers that I had to put into the logs. But last night I got them all done. I got up, as I told you, at 11 p.m. and I worked the whole night through. Up here, it's not the PC-1. We had one of those, and it went all screwy, so we sent it down to Cannon in Jamesburg, and that cost $178. And then we loaned it to Robert Perry, because I had to buy another one in the meantime. So this second one, which is not a PC-1, which is a PC-350 or something, it kept having black dots on it. So Franklin and I took an hour and a half Sunday, and we figured it out, how to get it to working. The black dots were coming from the cartridge. So Tom Hyatt at Office Max exchanged cartridges for us. He's very nice, Tom Hyatt at Office Max. As you know, I feed the squirrels, I feed the raccoons, and a couple of a couple of crows come by. They make that awful noise, so I feed them too. They come to see me, they like corn. John Porzio, that's an awful thing, you know. We have to pay for the furnace. He had to have a new furnace, and now the tenants have to pay for it. So every month I have to pay him $28 for his major capital improvement. And that's another one of those things that the $1 million landlord lobby got the state legislators to sign, and to the detriment of the tenants, who don't have $1 million to lobby the legislators. The reason I left a message for Officer Andrew Larkin that the deposition of Glendora by COSA about the Andrew Larkin and Kevin Larkin law-breaking. Can you imagine that? A police officer would be on television both in Yorktown at 9:30 p.m. and in Harrison at 8:30 p.m. at two different Cablevision systems. Brother Larry now he's doing much better. He sits up for 5 hours at a time. They're going to start helping him walk, and he can talk a little, and he should be home in a week. And can tell the lie that Cablevision is very advanced in public access. I do not think that Cablevision is. I'm on 11 different systems. For instance, take TCI. I chat with Glendora is on channel 8. It's much better to be on the lower channels. Take Continental. Chat with Glendora is on channel 6. No, I think it's on channel 19 South. Manhattan Cable TV, Chat with Glendora is on channel 16. And White Plains is on channel 14. The lower numbers are much better. And where does Cablevision put everybody? Well, 34, 27, 45, 25. The program is on in East Hampton, on Cablevision East Hampton, Amagansett, and Montauk every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. I believe that's channel 27. I have a friend out in Montauk that I went to classical high school with in Springfield, Massachusetts. We're coming up to our 50th anniversary. Her name is Jane Whitman. Days in the same week, they took Tuesday off. What did they call that, Tuesday? What was Tuesday? And then they took Friday off, Veterans Day. Bennett, who is superb at what she does at Cablevision, Nassau County, Huntington, Islip, and Babylon, putting the programs on the TV. I told her that I was also on Cablevision East Hampton. She says, oh, that's wonderful. She says, whom do you deal with out there? And I said, Mary Miller. And Diane is Irish, very Irish. She has beautiful red hair. And she says, whom do you deal with out there? And I said, Mary Miller and Fraser Doherty. And she said, Fraser Doherty. And I said, can I help it if I'm only 50% Irish? This is the think drawer. I think about these things 6 o'clock in the morning to see if solutions will come in from above. I want to tell you about the Gasoline and Automotive Service Dealers Association in Brooklyn. You know, I thought they'd help you if you're having a problem with a service station. But they don't. They just stand up for themselves and stand up for what is wrong. This is very important. This is the article that was in the Newsday following the conference set up by Judge Kay, our chief judge in the state of New York, and Leo Malonis, who is the head of the New York State Office of Court Administration for New York. Not outside of New York, I mean New York, New York. And it's written by Robin Toppling, and she says that the rules are either, she's quoting Mr. George Drance, and I heard him speak. He spoke just before I did. The rules are either winked at or ignored by players in the legal game who use the clients like a ball they hit from one side to another. He says, we are at the mercy of a system designed by lawyers, operated by lawyers, and abused by lawyers. And that's just what you've seen happen in the no-good Wood Court. As Drance spoke, there were dozens of people behind him just as upset. Although their immediate anger was directed at attorneys, they were also railing against the arena that attorneys operate in, a court system the speakers neither understand nor believe serves them. So that's a good article. You see where it says, in God we trust? And that's put out by Americans for Legal Reform. This copy of this article is written by Robin Toppling of Newsdays, Topping of Newsdays. And Americans for Legal Reform says, complaints about lawyers, call 516 420 1212. This is sort of a picture of Craco and New York Court of Claims Judge Priscilla Hall. Here, Family Court, Advocate Monica Getz. She's from Hastings, here in Westchester. I'd just like to call your attention briefly to this. Again, Americans for Legal Reform. Again, the number is 516-420-1212. But now this is all about the lobby that's conducted by the Association of Trial Lawyers of America, and how much money they give to congressmen when it comes time for election and to be voted in. Congressmen need money, and they get it from the Association of Trial Lawyers of America. And this is a study that was done, how a congressman got $403 for one election, but then when he went into Congress and did things for the lawyers, they chipped in $145,000. And he mentions the name Tommy Torts Boggs. He calls upon hundreds of trial lawyers to pony up when they want to save or ruin a politician. And this article says, now we have the proof. This was sent to me by the Americans for Legal Reform. I'm so glad they're doing this. And they're really a virulent organization. This is some short rules of the FCC on a do-nothing commission. It's hopeless. This is my CBS stock that split 5-for-1. That's the Columbia Broadcasting System, as opposed to the National Broadcasting Company, as opposed to the American Broadcasting Company. This is a note from Franco behind the VCR. Take the red and black cable out and put in the white cable only. He's very conscientious about his work. This is from Joyce Whitman, the reunion of 50-year reunion of the alumni of Classical High School, Springfield, Massachusetts. This is a recipe book by the Seventh-day Adventists. It's beautiful recipes. Polynesian bars, wheat flour, unbleached white flour, whole wheat pastry flour, oatmeal oil, unsweetened coconut and chopped nuts, 2 crushed pineapple, 2 cups of chopped dates, 1/2 cup of water, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Boy, isn't that good? And here's tofu steak. Tofu, as you know, is soybean. And Spanish-style egg plate and crepe-type pancakes. It's all healthful food, you see. A banana freeze. 2 medium bananas, very ripe, cut in 1-inch pieces and frozen. 1/2 cup of milk, skim or soy. Now, I wouldn't use milk, but I would use Rich's coffee creamer. And 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And place the milk and the vanilla in a blender and add the frozen banana chunks, 1 or 2 at a time. Blend to the consistency of soft ice cream. A little more milk may be necessary depending on how firmly frozen the bananas are. Variation, add frozen strawberries or other fruit. Use pineapple juice instead of milk. Yeah, definitely. Milk is for calves. It isn't for people. This is the Westchester Law Journal. It takes me so long to go through this. And it tells about how they auction homes off in the lobby of the Westchester County Courthouse Tower at 111 Grove Street. You see, I read it a little bit every day, and I can't get through it. I started it on October 25th. And this morning is November 17th. I just got to read faster. This is about the Funeral Planning Association of Westchester, Rosedale Avenue and Sycamore Lane, White Plains, New York, 10605. Call the Unitarian Church there and plan your funeral arrangements, because when a loved one dies, you are in no condition to make plans. The plans have to be all made. This is the newsletter put out for the Fund for Ancient Courts. They take all kinds of lawyers and judges to dinner, but they never take monitors to dinner. This is the Folsom Bulletin. I am a Folsom, and it told about the Folsom family reunion in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Remember I told you I went to that? 170 Folsoms came. This is about the White Plains Library. It's not much of a report. There's a lot wrong with the White Plains Library. There's a lot good about it. Mainly what's wrong with it is the personnel. But there are some very good reference librarians. And believe me, folks, if you can find a good reference librarian, you have found gold. There's nothing can be as valuable to your life as a good reference librarian. Remember these, the leaf blower law, remember roller skates and skateboards, never on the street. The pooper scooper law, each dog owner must remove any droppings left by his dog on any street or sidewalk. Each dog owner must remove any droppings left by his dog on any street or sidewalk. It's not bad. When I was babysitting for Bo and took him out, I used to take a plastic bag and I used to take tea paper, and then I would take care of it that way and put it down the toilet. This is about rate options for religious organizations under state law. Eligible religious organizations may choose to receive electric service under residential rates or under appropriate non-residential rates. So I've been telling my church board, the official board, I don't know who's the unofficial board, and the board of trustees about this, and they just ignore it, and it's so much red tape, the way that church is run. See, in a Pilgrim church, Puritan church, that's the United Church of Christ, that's the old Congregational church. The congregation runs the church. And these rip-off Con Edison went up 7%, those bums. And this is the third quarter report of Gannett. They are trying to collect $535 from me through the Burroughs Court. And I'd just like to have you, this is only the third quarter, and I'd just like to have you hear. Their net income was $316 million just this third quarter. And their operating revenues were $2,775,933,000 just this third quarter. I'd like to have you see a picture of this greedy man. His name is John Curley. He's the CEO of Gannett. He makes about $8 million a year. And that's not enough for him. He keeps trying to make more. So they want $535 from me, a pro se. This is the New York statutes. And the first volume I'm certainly not going to read. That's the abandoned property law, agricultural conservation and adjustment law, agricultural markets law. I'm not going to read that. Alcoholic beverage control law, alternative county government law, arts and cultural affairs law, the banking law. No, I'm not going to read that statute. The benevolent orders law, I'm not going to read that. But when you get to the New York State Business Corporation law, you can betcha I've been reading that, and I have read it 2 or 3 times, and I'm reading it again because I have to find those laws that Cablevision is breaking by not giving me the residence addresses of the directors and the officers, and by not showing me the stock certificate book, and by not showing me the list of shareholders. They're breaking laws. So I'm just reviewing that to get those laws. But now, where am I? I've started the CPLR, the Civil Practice Laws and Rules. And I've gone Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4, Article 5, Article 6, there is no Article 7 and no Article 8. I've done Article 9. And I did Article 10 this morning. 11 and 12 is for poor persons, which I'm going to be very shortly with these crooked courts and these corrupt lawyers. And Article 12, that was something of interest. What was that about? So I'm reading them. And then they skip. It goes on Article 14, Article 15, and then it goes all the way from 16 to 20, nothing in those articles. So that's where I am now. I'm about at Article 20. I'd like to find you the page that tells you what they're about. CPLR is the short title, the applicability and the definitions. 2 is limitations of time, how much time you have to file a lawsuit. 3 is jurisdiction and service, appearance and choice of court. That's really important. 4 is special proceedings like landlord-tenant eviction. 5 is venue, where is the action going to be tried. 6 is joinder of claims, consolidation and severance. That's if you want to add people, if you want to sever people, if you want to consolidate cases. 9 is class actions. 10 is parties generally. That's where I got the idea to drop Thomas Garger from the Cablevision action. 11 is poor persons. That's people who don't have to pay. 12 is infants. 13 is actions by the state. 14 is contribution. If you sue, as I did, I sued 15 people at Cablevision, so they can all make contributions when the judgment comes. 14A is damage actions, effective contributory negligence. 15 is actions against persons jointly liable, and I consider that all of my Cablevision defendants are jointly liable. Now you see it jumps from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And when you get, there's nothing. And then 20 is mistakes, defects, irregularities, and extension of time. It's really, the litigants have to correct their defects, mistakes. But if the court makes a mistake, and believe me, they make plenty of them, they just leave it. Crazy. At a service station, gasoline car service station, said that the terms of this station are strictly cash. And the motorist says, no, 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 there's a sign up there, right there. It says batteries charged. And a woman asked a professor, what was your mother's name before she was married? And the professor said, I had no mother before she was married. And a woman was called for jury duty, and she didn't want to serve, and she refused to serve. And the judge says, but ma'am, this is a case about a woman suing her husband because the woman gave the husband $1,000 to make a down payment on a car, and he lost $1,000 in a poker game. And the woman said, okay, I'll serve. I could be wrong about capital punishment. This is what happened on a chat with Glendora the week of November 10th, November 17th in 1994. And let's sing our hymn, our goodbye hymn. Now let's sing a different one. Breathe on me, breath of God, fill me with life anew, that I may love as thou wouldst love, and do what thou wouldst do. said, "Are you serious?" I guess she's heard that joke too many times. But I'm going to tell you 3 jokes that I don't think you've heard. And the first one is Ed says, "Every morning I do my hardest work." Before breakfast. Ed says, "Every morning I do my hardest work before breakfast." And his mother-in-law says, "That's getting up." And Billy had a birthday party, and his mother says, "You have invited only 4 grandparents. You've invited only uncles and aunts. You've invited only grown-up people." And Billy says, "Well, they're the ones with the money." And there was this cruise, and one of the lady passengers said to the other lady passenger, "How do you like your cabin?" She says, "Well, not very good. I guess it's pretty good, except I don't like the washing machine on the wall." And the first lady says, "It's not a washing machine, that's a porthole." And the first lady says, "Is that why my laundry never came back?" We're going to move on to what happened with Glendora and Scott Lord. We're not going much of this done before the tape runs out, but I guess the important thing is that this is the appeal that went to the United States Court of Appeals, and this is just files, volume 50 of Scott Lord. I want to just show you the size of the mailing that went out this week. Here it is, full size, 8.5 by 11. But here it is reduced, and that mailing is number 137, and it went out Thursday, November the 17th. It covers the period from October 7th to November the 17th, 1 month and a week. We have a promo here for Americans for Legal Reform. So this went out to 19 people. And the cost on it, let's see, I think the printing cost was $33 and the mailing cost was $38. I take that back. It did not go to 19 people. The Gannett mailing goes to 19 people. The Scott Lord mailing goes to 35 people, 36 people. So the mailing on it was $38. The whole thing cost about $70. All this, we had to start a new file, and the new file is Scott Lord 51, volume 51. I'll tell you who the litigants are in just a minute. In just a week or a month, because this is the end of this program, we have to start a new one. The litigants are Conrad Dubestein, a judge, in fact, the Chief Judge of the United States Bankruptcy Court, Eastern District. Robert John Hall, a bankruptcy judge in Westbury. Andrew Maloney, former United States attorney. Harold Jones, former United States trustee. Neil Mann, former United States assistant trustee. And you're going to be a former cat. She just looks around. Teresa Kavanaugh, United States trustee. Richard O'Connell, panel trustee. Joseph Derby, a security officer, not a United States Marshal. Scott Lord, who started all this with his lying, thieving, and cheating. Jan Stahl and Jeffrey Burns, who committed fraudulent conveyances with Scott Lord in the Scott Lord bankruptcy, in which I was a creditor, in which I finally got paid 86 cents, 87 cents on the dollar, $3,000. James. Alicano stealing our garage. Is always busy, like the phone is off the hook. Monday, I was able to leave a message. Is Scott Lord operating a home improvement business with no consumer affairs license? Answer, I don't know. Judge DePaulo was no answer. Newsday was no answer. I started volume 51 of Glendora versus Scott. Scott papers are up to 5,700. 5,700 pages on a liar, a thief, and a cheat. And I read 6 pages of the United States Supreme Court. Now, the Scott Lord decision, what happened is that Duberstein and Hall, 2 judges, were negligent. I sued them, plus those other people. Judge Cattell stuck by the 2 judges and threw justice to the winds in the United States District Court, Southern District, White Plains. And so I appealed Judge Cattell's decision. Judge Cattell has gone to Connecticut and is really doing nothing at the moment that I can see except collecting taxpayers' money. And so the United States Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Judge Cattell. So you have 3 judges favoring 3 other judges and throwing justice to the winds. And they affirmed Judge Cattell's opinion. That mandate came. So there's no place to go now except the United States Supreme Court. Now, who would think that a liar, a thief, and a cheat out there in Long Island could make somebody go to the United States Supreme Court? But with today's court system, folks, it happens. There's just no other place to go. And so you call up the United States Supreme Court and you ask for their package, and this is what they send you. These are the rules, and if you read all these rules, every day I read 5 pages of these rules. And then they send you some instructions, and this is how your title page has to look, your cover has to look, United States Supreme Court. And then here are more instructions. And guess what? It's going to cost $300 to file this. Have I told you before that the worst ripoff in the United States today is the courts? The worst consumer ripoff we have in the United States today is the courts, trying to find justice. What will my case be against the United States Supreme Court? The 14th Amendment. I'm entitled to equal protection of the law. Okay. Cattell chose to protect Duberstein and Hall, and he chose not to protect me. Judges Laval, Pratt, and Cabranes chose to protect Judge Cattell, and they chose not to protect me. I am entitled to equal protection of the law. Plus, of course, the obvious denial of due process, that a judge has to be unbiased, that a judge has to make a decision, have no personal interest in the decision. Well, believe me, all of these judges had a personal interest in the decision, and that was standing up for all of the other judges. So I have 90 days to perfect this appeal. The clerks are very nice at the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. I will have to ask them where I can get a copy of a petition so I have some kind of idea how to do this. I'll also have to start saving up for the $300. So that's called petition to file a writ of certiorari. This doesn't get you into the Supreme Court, because they may even deny hearing you, just the way the New York State Court of Appeals does. They may not even hear you. They may not even have time for you. Okay. I think I covered all that in the log. I would say the time spent on Scott Lord last week was something like 15 hours. Glendora left a message with the Secretary of Conrad Duberstein, the Chief Judge of the United States Bankruptcy Court in the Eastern District. That would be Brooklyn, Nassau, and Suffolk. That Glendora versus Conrad Duberstein was on TV every day last week on one of 11 cable systems. And the lawyer, oh no, I'm not going to tell you that because I ruined the punchline. And, gee, I believe that you're all up to date on Glendora versus Scott Lord, Duberstein, Hall, Maloney, Kavanaugh, Jones, O'Connell, Lord, Stahl, Barnes, Derby. I believe you are up to date on that. Here to sing you our Thanksgiving hymn. This is the Pilgrim's Thanksgiving hymn. It's Franklin Buell.
We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing. He chastens and hastens his will to make known. The wicked oppressing now cease from distressing. Sing praises to his name. He forgets not his own.
Thank you. You're singing in the Messiah. That was a good shot of your stomach. Singing in the Messiah.
Yes.
And you know when that's going to be presented?
At 4 p.m. on the 4th of December, Sunday afternoon, in the Church of the Highlands.
You want to tell the folks where that is?
That's on Bryant Street, between Grandview and Longview.
In White Plains.
In White Plains.
Yeah. And you're a tenor?
Yes.
And how large is the choir?
About 50.
Wow. That's very good. Is it going to be a good performance?
Very good.
And that would be Handel's Messiah.
That's right. The director is Bob Chase.
Robert Chase. Dr. Robert Chase. He's the organist, minister of music at the Church in the Highlands and White Plains. And did you sing that part, Take All the Prophets of Baal? Zoom. Did you sing that part?
No.
How about, For unto us a son is born.
Yes, indeed.
Unto us a son is born.
Right.
And what other parts?
Oh, his yoke is easy, his burden is light.
How's that go?
Well, that's sort of complicated. That's one of the more difficult ones. It doesn't make much sense with just one part.
Okay. What else?
Oh, the Hallelujah chorus, of course.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sing a couple of those for us.
Oh.
2 lines of Hallelujah chorus.
What? Hallelujah. 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 King of kings, Lord of lords. There again, it doesn't make much without all the parts together.
For the Lord God of all. Something?
That's right. Yep.
He's off. He's gone. I shouldn't say he's off. He's on his way out into the big world to do big things. King of kings and Lord of lords, and he shall reign forever and ever. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now, it is time for jokes, and Franklin and I will be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary on Christmas Day. We were married on Christmas days in Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts, at the First Congregational Church by the Reverend John B. Wallace. Somebody else at our church in the Highlands, the Heinbaughs, Ed and Valerie Heinbaugh were married at that same church by that same reverend. And then her daughter came to visit her this summer, and she was married at that church. Isn't that interesting? Way over in Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts. And what was I doing at the time? I was on Channel 9 WMUR-TV, named after Governor Murphy, Channel 9 WMUR-TV, an ABC affiliate in Manchester, New Hampshire. And it covered, of course, Manchester, Concord, and all those little towns up there. Lowell, Massachusetts, Lawrence, Massachusetts, and it covered pretty much the towns 40 miles north of Boston. That was my second television show, and it was called the SS Glendora. I was dressed up as a ship captain, and I had all the little kids dressed up as little sea officers and mateys. And the SS, I told the children, stood for steamship, and they said, no, it stands for stupid show. Other than that joke, we will move on to the other jokes. When the teacher said to the class, give me a sentence using the word bewitches. And Peter says, you go ahead, I'll bewitches in a minute. He says, they say that blondes and brunettes have better dispositions than redheads. And Peter says, well, I don't know, my wife has been all three, and I can't see any difference at all. And the teacher said in class, she's trying to teach the little kindergartners the alphabet, and she says, children, what comes after T? And all the kids says, V. Good kids. Franklin, when he got it, he told me, he should have told you, a story that Dr. Robert Chase told the choir about Sir Thomas Beecham, who hated rehearsals, and I don't blame him. I can't stand them. I started out on TV when it was live. You had one chance to say it right. Get it right the first time. I cannot stand rehearsals. So anyway, they were having this horn group rehearse, and they played for about 5 minutes, and Dr. Thomas Beecham says, that's fine, you'll do okay. And one of the horn players says, but, maestro, I've never played this before. And Sir Thomas Beecham says, that's okay, you will enjoy it. Now I'm going to tell you what happened on Glendora versus Gannett Company Incorporated, Gannett Suburban Newspapers, John Curley, the CEO of Gannett, Watson, who is the president of the newspaper division, and Gary Sherlock, who is the person here in Westchester, Rockland, and Putnam, and Kenneth Paulson, who is the executive editor. This file is the appeal in the United States Court of Judge Broderick's very bad decision that Gannett is not an antitrust, is not a monopoly in Westchester. This is the appellant's brief. How can you call that a brief? And this is the appellant's reply brief. And this is file. I don't know what file this is. I have to go down to the archives and find out what number file this is. I would suspect it's like 40 or 50. And this is a new file that had to, a new volume that had to be started. And as I say, I don't know what it is. But Gannett is up to, the file on Gannett is up to 5,073 pages. Mailing got out. It shows how Gannett was scooped. We've gone all over this before by all of these newspapers. I think they've been scooped 5 times already. They're about to be scooped again by Multi-Channel News because they were on the phone yesterday for a half an hour from Denver. They're going to do a story about Cablevision with assets of $1.5 billion is robbing Glendora of her costs of $797, $800. So this great big mailing got out, and so they will have been scooped by then 6 times. That's what we all know this about Gannett. They don't give you the news in your own area. They're not doing their job. Their job is to distribute the news. It cost $16 to print it. It went out on November the 17th, Thursday last week. This is the day before Thanksgiving. It was mailing number 215. We get the promo in there for Americans for Legal Reform. And George Drance at that hearing where I spoke, and I read you my speech, George Drance was at that same hearing, and he said, we are at the mercy of a system designed by lawyers, operated by lawyers, and abused by lawyers. That was from Newsday, Robin Topping, who covers the courts for Newsday. So that's some mailing. It's 84 pages. It covers this is the Newsday article about Glendora and Cablevision. It covers the period from October the 22nd to November the 17th, 1994. It had to be reduced, so it was reduced thusly to cut down the number of pages, the cost of the printing, and the cost of the postage. So it costs $16 to print it, and it costs about $20 to post it, and that would come out to $36 on these lawbreakers and on inept and corrupt courts. Now, as Harvey Cass says, let me make a note of that. He says people go into courts, you know, about 80 people spoke about how the courts, the lawyers, the judges, had ruined their lives, ruined their savings, ruined their homes, ruined their families. And these people, they think, well, I'm the only one it happens to. I go to court and I'm the only one that this happens to. And Harvey says, no, it's happening all the time, all the time, all the time. You've got to get together, you've got to go down to the courthouse, and you've got to picket. You've got to get signs, and you've got to picket in front of the courthouses. And they are very active about that out in Suffolk and Nassau through Americans for Legal Reform. So Harvey called yesterday and says a chapter in Westchester has to be formed. And Carol G. Called Harvey, and he's the one, or she's the one that Harvey said that to. I would like to participate. At the moment I can't, because my life, of course, is all taken with these lawbreakers that you hear about every week. And until that's done, I can't participate. We're going to have a big party, though, Americans for Legal Reform, and on December the 4th, Sunday, at the Oak Beach Inn, down Jones Beach Road in Suffolk. So that's about Americans for Legal Reform, and I want their number up on the screen. I've got to make sure that I bring that number. This is the order to show cause that was given to Judge Burrow, which he refused to sign. And there were pages missing, so we went to the county clerk. We finally found out where they put our order to show cause. And so we looked through it all, and we had some pages missing in our copy, so we conformed our copy to that's in the county clerk's office. Now, about that judgment for $535, excuse me, that Robert Kalagi, Greedy Grubby Robert M. Kalagi, Esquire, got Gordon Burroughs and Charles Devlin to sign. I don't have to pay that judgment because the judgment says that the index number is 1769-94. If you look up case 1769-94, you'll find that I am not a party to that action. And Franklin is about to do that when he gets time, hopefully today, to go to the county clerk's office, look up that action, and see who the plaintiffs are and the defendants are, and then make a copy of it. Now, what else happened on Glendora versus Gannett, Curley, Watson, McCorkindale, Sherlock, Paulson. The United States Court of Appeals, I sent in my plaintiff's petition for rehearing, which I've read to you already, and I sent that in, and on November the 3rd, the day I came back from Suffolk where I made the speech before the Judith K. Leo Malonis Committee of What's Wrong with Lawyers and Judges, and it was due November 14th. I sent it in November 3rd. That's 11 days. And you're telling me why the United States Post Office couldn't get that to Foley Square, 35 miles from here, in 11 days, or why the courthouse lost 10 copies. This is 10 copies. The 11th one was served on greedy, grubby Kalaji. So I had to make a motion. These forms are very good. And it's a notice of motion on case number 1994-7480. They want you to use the short title, Glendora versus Gannett et al., and for a petition for rehearing the second time since the United States Post Office or the clerk's office lost the first one. And the motion is by Glendora, Box 416, White Plains, New York. And the opposing attorney is Robert M. Kalaji, Satterley, Stevens, Burke & Burke, 230 Park Avenue, New York, 10169. That's the same building that Judith K.'s office is in. Judith K. is our chief judge, who replaced Judge Wackler. Has service been affected? Yes. Has consent of opposing counsel sought? No. Been obtained? No. And this is all the judge or agency whose order is being appealed. It's Vincent L. Broderick. Bad decision that Gannett is not a monopoly in Westchester County. Brief statement of the relief requested. A previous petition for rehearing was mailed through the United States Post Office November the 3rd, 1994, due November 14th, 1994. Glendora called every week, 3 times a week, to ask the clerk if it was there. No. Signed, Glendora, pro se, plaintiff appellant. And the date of this was November 18th, 1994. That would be Friday that it went out. And here's her nice form. See, the feds are really good about this. They give you this form, and it's really very efficient. It's a way to make a motion. A notice of motion and a motion. The state courts are, besides our obvious deficiencies of no bad judges and bad lawyers, the state courts are, their form is bad. And, of course, their obvious procrastination and slowness. Monolithic slowness. All right, previous requests for a similar relief and disposition. The first petition for rehearing was sent by United States mail, and it never reached Clerk Frank. The plaintiff appellant wants to petition a second time for rehearing. Statement of the issues presented by this motion. The issue is something mailed on November the 3rd, 1994, ought to reach the clerk before November 14th. It isn't fair. Brief statement of the facts. The facts are Glendora hurried up and sent her petition for rehearing, got the 10 copies made, mailed a copy to Kalaji right after she got the decision 11 days early to get it to the clerk on time. She sent the 10 copies by U.S. mail. She addressed the envelope to Clerk Monica. Glendora's husband, Franklin, deposited Monica's envelope and Kalaji's envelope in the mail post office building, in the main post office building, White Plains, November 3rd, 1994, mid-afternoon, Fisher Avenue, 10602, where Glendora's post office box is. Summary of the argument. Please accept this second mailing of the petition for rehearing. First, Glendora is a victim of the Gannett monopoly in Westchester. Then she is a victim of a bad decision by Judge Broderick. Then she is a victim of a bad decision by Judges Lavelle, Pratt, and Cabranes. Now she is a victim of the United States Post Office. It is too much to bear. This is the log. By the way, yesterday, Tuesday, they hadn't got that. This time I sent it by UPS, United Postal Service. By the way, you can't send anything to the United States Supreme Court that way. Well, you can, but they won't take it. There's no substitute for United States mail. In other words, my petition for writ of certiorari has to be in in 90 days exactly, and they take it by the date it was mailed in the United States Post Office. They don't take it by the date they receive it. And so you've got to use the United States Post Office. They will not let you use, in this instance, they will not let you use UPS or Federal Express or any of those private companies. So let's go over here. The Gannett log, as I say, is up to 5,100 pages, all their law breaking. The approximate time on Gannett last week would be 10 hours. There's some jokes that you've already heard. Glendora left a message with Karen in John Curley's office. The Glendora versus Curley is on TV every day on one of 11 cable systems in Westchester, Rockland, Nassau, Suffolk, or Manhattan. Karen is so much better at her job than Sherwood secretaries Andrea or Amy. They hang up on you. They say, talk to our lawyer, and here they are in the communications business, and they can't communicate. They're really cave Neanderthal is the word. And so Karen down in John Curley's office is a lot better. So we'll just call John Curley, who's the CEO of Gannett, and ask him, will you give a message to Gary Sherlock, whose secretary won't take a message? There's a story in the Westchester Law Journal about Gannett and the $535 cost order to show cause not signed by Burroughs, and the Kalaji order to show cause that Silverman did sign to rob Glendora of her costs. $800. There's spots on the Lincoln paint, the roof, rear, window, passenger doors, and hood. Franklin suspects vandalism, and Glendora reserves. Well, it's the rain. I thought I was so smart painting the vinyl on the Lincoln and doing the touch-ups, but now when it rains, all these big blotches come on. They look sort of strawberry color when the color of the Lincoln is maroon. Okay. And Tuesday, yesterday, Glendora left a message with Gene in CEO John Curley's office that Glendora versus Curley Gannett will be on TV at 9 p.m. tonight, Channel 8, TCI, Chapter 96. She tries to leave the same message for Gary Sherlock, and Andrea did not say anything. The United States Court of Appeals does not receive the second petition for the rehearing. Multi-Channel News interviewed Glendora yesterday for half an hour. They're going to write a story about Cablevision robbing Glendora. Cablevision, $1.5 billion, robbing Glendora of her costs of $797. And they also want to write about Judge Broderick's decision where he says that Cablevision is not a cable operator and the law doesn't apply to them. Later I will be reading you the article in the Westchester Law Journal. Here is the mandate, the bad decision by Laval, Cabranes, and Pratt, that Gannett is not a monopoly, and affirming Judge Broderick's bad decision. Now, where does this stand? We're waiting for, both in Scott Lord case, we're waiting for the judges to rule on whether Glendora has to pay the costs of the printing to the United States government, and we're waiting on this one, the Gannett one, on whether Glendora has to pay Kalaji's rip-off costs for doing his copying, $41. That is so petty. That is so cheap. And these greedy, grubby people, Gannett and Kalaji, and the United States Attorney Mary Jo White and her lawyer Novinsky, Lorraine Novinsky. So I think you're up to date on what happened on Glendora versus Gannett, Curley, Watson, McCorkindale, Sherlock, and Broder and Paulson on the week of November 17 to today, November 20. No, I forgot. 2017 to today, November 20th. No, I forgot to read to you from the Gannett third quarter report. Consumer confidence, says Curley in his CEO's letter, buoyant, growing economy, 74 cents from 61 cents. Net income reached 105 million. This is the third quarter, compared with 88 million last year. Operating revenues were 932 million. And last year it was 876 million. Share repurchase program, the stock dropped. You know, I've been reporting that to you every week. It was up to around 53.4, now it's down around 48, for approximately 400 million because the share repurchase program per share advanced from $2.17 to 184 cents, from 184 cents. The net income was 316 million for Gannett this third quarter, compared to 269 million last year, and the operating revenues gained 4% to $2,776 million, and they want me to pay Kalaji $535. Let me read that to you again. Operating revenues gained 4% to $2,776 million. He's talking about, he's trumpeting their coverage of ethnic groups, 17% minority newsroom staffing, and 16% minority managers. And they have a senior editor management development program. Well, maybe they will learn someday to cover the news. Maybe they will learn someday to print letters to the editor. Maybe they will learn someday to get the other side of a story. Unity 94 was kicked off by a town hall meeting sponsored by Gannett and USA Today. Panelists included Peter Pritchard, editor of US Today and Gannett's chief news, senior group president of the East newspaper group, and president and publisher of the News Journal at Wilmington, Delaware. They are active in Asian American journalists, that would be Connie Chung. And they're doing, he says, things for working mothers. Gannett was again named one of the 100 best companies for working mothers. That's nothing over here on this page. But now I just want to read you that bottom line. See that bottom line? This figure right here. Okay. This is the condensed consolidated balance sheet total. $3,823,798,000. So it's 3.9 billion, rounded off. And I believe that's as far as I read. Of interest to you, condensed consolidated statements of cash flows. Okay, their cash flow, net cash flow from operating activities is 409. Make it 420 million. Net cash flow by investing activities is 79 million. Make it 80 million. And balance of cash and cash equivalents at the end of the third quarter is 65 million. Forget that $25,000. And that's as far as I've read. On Glendora versus Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin, the minutes came. I showed them to you last week. This is the copy. This is of the deposition that you saw on TV of October the 25th, Michael Koza of Glendora, about the law breaking of Andrew and Kevin Larkin. And so I have read these once, and let me show you the other volume. I am making the corrections, and see if I can show one to you. And the notations, like they say Robert Walsh, it wasn't Robert Walsh. There's no Robert Walsh, it's Roberta Walsh. And things like that, and answering his questions more fully. The trouble with Michael Kozer is that he's all over the place. He asks a question, and before you give him the answer, he's off to something else. It's really sort of scatterbrained. But I go through and I'm answering everything. And this has to be in on November 30th. And general accident shareholders paid $625 for that, $200 for the first deposition, which was 46 pages, and so that's about $825. So I am informing the CEO of General Accident, Walter Furnham, of the same. This is volume 21 of the log of these lawbreakers, Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin. And of course the lawyers are breaking the law, and so is the court. I think we'll do the log first. This is the log of last week, and it's 16 pages. And I'll read you from Thursday where we left off last week. And then we had to reduce that and paste it up to make it 4 sheets, I believe. Let me show you, see if it is 4 sheets. Yeah, that gets it down to 4 sheets so that it's cheaper to mail it, because it has to go out first class, and cheaper to print it. Well, here's a whole stack of these. This is both the wall log and the cross motion for that unreasonable demand for copies of all tapes and all videotapes. And you'll hear a whole lot more about that later. Copies of the tapes that are going to be used in the trial, that's reasonable. But then nothing that Koza or Comboy or Karamitsos or Odell or McGrath, nothing that they do is reasonable or honest. Was walking down the street in a barrel, and the policeman said, "Are you a poker player?" And the man said, "No, but I just came from a group of fellows who are." And the woman was making out her application, and she came to the part where it said to fill in your age, and she hesitated a long, long time over that, and the clerk said, "The longer you wait, ma'am, the worse it gets." And there is not much to see in a small town. There is not much to see in a small town, but what you hear makes up for it. So here's a big pile of money. I'd like you to have all that money. Wouldn't that be nice? So I wish all that money will come to you in a good way and do good things for you. So we're going to mailing number 100, which was last week. And we're up to 1,700 pages on wall. And now we have to see what happened Thursday rather. It took a half an hour to videotape all, and it took a half an hour to edit. It was 100% piece Thursday. We got the rubbish ready to go onto the tree belt because it's pickup day. And the dryer door was banged too hard for 3 times at 9:30 a.m. and that will break it. And it's such a nice dryer, and there's no need of slamming the door like that. And from 10:15 to 10:45 a.m., police officer Eric Fisher, this is on Friday now, November the 18th, called and took a report on Glendora of Roberta Walsh harassing Glendora Wednesday at 11:07 a.m. He asked what was going on with the lawsuit, and Glendora filled him in that. And she told him about the oral argument and about the minutes that Glendora has to approve, and about the motion to see all videotapes and audio tapes for discovery, which is an irrational request. It should have been made last year, for one thing. And it said that we're having a conference for trial readiness on Wall on January 8th, 1995, Wall being Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin. Fisher suggested that Glendora go see the assistant district attorney about the harassment subdivision 1 of Nella Alpucci punching Glendora 3 times and grabbing Glendora by the coat collar and by the coat sleeve and trying to drag her, Glendora, into Nella's apartment twice. Fisher will not confront Roberta Walsh with what she did Wednesday in the basement. And I say that as being Keystone Cops. Fisher should say to Roberta, we have this report that you did this. Did you do it? And a police officer, along with a judge, has to be an expert in telling who is telling the truth and who is not. They have to be experts. Other than that, they shouldn't be qualified as policemen. Okay. We included this article from Newsday about all of the people complaining about lying lawyers and corrupt judges, and also this from Americans for Legal Reform. Let me see if we can't get their telephone number up on the screen. 516-420-1212. 420-1212. 420-1212. Americans for Legal Reform. If you have complaints about lawyers, call 516-420-1212. Got to get that onto their slate. I told them I reserved a page in my character generator for them. This is a very, very sad thing. Oh, not this. Well, sad enough. But what's coming is really outrageous. This is a police report saying that when the policeman got there was no car blocking the driveway. This is typically White Plains Police. The car was blocking the driveway. We have to back the Lincoln into the driveway, into our parking space, because there is not room enough to turn the Lincoln around once you get it into this property. And because the parking space is too close to the building. Now, who wrote this? Demichik? Police Officer Demichik. So, you see how it goes? See, these are the parking spaces. And you have to back the car in off the street. Everything's back with the TV camera. Back the car in off the street. And to get it into its space. These are the 2 parking places in the front for Walsh and Bob. And this is Building A. So you see there's no room, and this car was parked on this tree belt with its front fender or front bumper into this tree. So there was no room to back it in. But so much for the White Plains Police. They always get there, wait until they can get there so that upon arrival I did not see whatever it is that your complaint is. On Saturday, the garbage is cleaned up. The place is neat and tidy, but the toadstool stone that is toppled at the southwest corner looks terrible, and it has ever since last winter when the snowplow knocked it over. Caesar and Robert should get over here, and they should put that right. And there's another stone out of place that hits our car door every time that we open it, the rear driver's door. There were spots on the Lincoln paint. Franklin thought it was vandalism. Glendora reserved on that, and it turned out to be from the rain. And this letter was written to William Bave, but I just have a feeling that I read it to you about stop sending form letters. Sit down and write a letter that applies to the case. At 4:34 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, that would be November 19th. Ginny doesn't hear, as you know. She had some kind of injury. Nobody knows what happened to her internally when she was a kitten. We went away one afternoon. We came back at 5 o'clock, and everything was all strange for her. Her eyes were going back and forth like this, but that has stopped, and she just seems to have some kind of a spinal injury, acted as if she'd had a stroke or something. But anyway, as a result of that, I don't think she sees out of this eye, and that's why her head is always like that. And I don't think she can hear, and of course her sense of balance is all off. But she's a brave little kitty and a happy little kitty, and we have to support her 100%. So she doesn't hear well, and she doesn't hear voices, and even when she hears a voice, she doesn't know where to locate it because of the balance being off. And but she can hear hand claps, and she can come to the location where the hand claps are coming from after a while. And so I was doing that to get her in to protection, and I clapped like that to get her. And upstairs, Brat James Walsh was leaning out his kitchen window, and he was mocking me, clapping for Ginny. And there's just no need of that. That is a harassment, intent to annoy and alarm with no legitimate purpose. And both his mother and his father were absent. So he's like an orphan with no parental guidance. Not that that parental guidance would be very good from what you're going to read in what you're going to hear in just a few minutes. The cellar looks so nice. Mary Ann is back. Glendora told her that she had a nice son. He was a good-looking son. And I went to church, and Patty Brewster said that she and Evans Brewster, a former judge, now a judicial hearing officer, had dinner with Judge Wood on Friday night. So it adds up to the hours on wall last week were 28.5 hours, the costs were $11, and the number of tortious acts is 1,013. And the wall file is 21 volumes, 1,800 pages. Of Glendora about the law breaking of Andrew and Kevin Larkin was on TV for half an hour Monday night at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 14, White Plains Public Access. And at the same time it was on TV, I was reading the minutes here, checking over the minutes. So what I was reading in these minutes of that deposition was on TV at that very time. I'm going to read you what happened now on so far this week, which is mailing number 101, and there's 1,017 tortious acts. And this is Exhibit Beta Beta, and it's page 1771, 21 Greenridge Avenue, White Plains, New York, 10605. It's the law breaking of James Roberta and Daniel Walsh, of Nella Theo and Al Pucci, of Andrew and Kevin Larkin, of Michael Kozer, Kevin Odell, Kevin Conboy, Alexander Karamitzos, Leo McGrath, and of the court, and of the law clerk Carlucci. And the shrub is over on its side quite often, so we try to pull the shrub up and keep it upright. It should be taken care of. The labor on writing this cross motion right here was terrible. It was excruciating. Where is the thing? Right here. It's 34 pages. I worked on it 4 hours Saturday, and I worked, Franklin and I worked on it, let's see, I worked on it how many hours? Sunday. Oh, Franklin and I together worked on it 14.25 hours. There's another weekend ruined by law-breaking, Walsh, Alpucci, Larkin, by lying lawyers, and by an inept court. And on Monday, we worked on it another 7 hours, so that the total time on this cross motion to dismiss a really unreasonable motion by Kevin Odell was 25.25 hours. 25.25 hours. This desk is so covered I can't find anything to read it to you in sequence. Typed on it all day Sunday, which was ruined after we came home from church. He even typed on it before we went to church. I went down into the basement files, into the archives to find my answer to the combined demand for videotapes in January 5th. And you'll read about that when I read it to you in the affidavit. And let's see, where are we now? We're up to Tuesday. Franklin served it, and submitted it. The tenants left discarded cardboard cartons in the cellar when they should have taken them out to the tree belt. And then tenants don't bother to put the rubbish bags into the rubbish cans, and the place begins to mount up and be disgusting. And Captain Quinn found the missing report, and he connected Glendora to the records, and Officer Benedict said he would find the hard copy, and at 2:20 p.m. records called, and they have it. That's the police report missing that Officer Fisher took on November 18th. Multi-channel news called and interviewed me on the telephone for a half an hour about Cablevision, with assets of $1.5 billion, not paying Glendora her costs of $800. 5:55 p.m., the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, Nella Alpucci has been horning in on the parking places over here between buildings A, D. When she doesn't belong there, she belongs over on the Mamaroneck side of building C. But she always tries to take somebody else's parking place. And whenever she's around, it's trouble. So what was the trouble? She blew the horn 3 times under Glendora's east bedroom window. And further, her car has a very bad exhaust leak, and it is noisy, and that's another violation of the White Plains Ordinance. And further, it is air pollution. Jonathan Beach at 6:30 p.m., quote unquote, said that he was seeking a community award. I think it was put up just like the newspaper subscription boy in the summer of 1993. So I talked to him through the door, told him to put it under the door, and then he went away. Also, the reason I think it was put up because I didn't hear him asking any of the other tenants, and when he exited the building, he went down through the cellar. He didn't go out the front door. And why does a bee hum? Because it doesn't know the words. The cost of printing the Glendora TV log of last week, the one I just read you, was $4. We don't know what the postage will be to send out the log and the reduced copy of the cross motion to dismiss the motion for all videotapes and audio tapes copies. There was water in the cellar of building A. It was in there badly. There was water in the cellar of building C, and it was in there badly, and you shouldn't have to walk through puddles and puddles of water to get to your locker or to get to the recycle cans. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I read you 5 and 6 before I read you 3 and 4. Okay. The time on this already this week, I told you 25¼ hours on this cross motion last week, so it's up to about 15 hours this week already. The COSA Glendora deposition about the law-breaking of Andrew Larkin was on TV, will be on TV tonight, twice, 9:30 p.m. at Cablevision Yorktown, Bedford, Mount Kisco, Putnam Valley, Somers, and Armonk, and at 8:30 p.m. in Harrison and Port Chester. Now, at 11:07 a.m., I said that my next legal paper job was to take half of the wall file to the cellar archives, and it is too heavy for the file drawer. It's breaking the file drawer. So I decided to take all but the last file of Ancient Courts and the first 5 files of the Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin file. Well, Roberta Walsh was in the cellar doing the laundry, and she whistled at me. I told you that. And then she fluttered her fingers and she made faces, you know, all very infantile things to do, and she's a mother. She really acts like she's under substance abuse, or it might be all the constant smoking and the nicotine damage. But I got the wall file 1 to 5 to the red file box, and then I came back, and with the audio recorder, I kept the audio recorder going. And she didn't say anything, but she made visual harassment. And that's too bad I didn't have the video camera. And so I went upstairs, and I got the next group of files to take down. And as I came into the cellar, she says, "If you're going to harass me, I'm going to call the police." Well, I said nothing to her before, nor during this, nor after it, and I never have spoken to her since it started on Easter Sunday, 1993. And I placed the modern court files in the red file box, and when I came by the laundry area, Roberta was gone, and the time was 11:38 p.m. And so here is a police report by Pino, and Pino says that the complainant reports her neighbor, Glendora, followed her into the laundry room. That's lie number one. She was in the laundry room when I got there, at 21 Greenridge Avenue, and videotaped her against her will. That's another lie. I didn't videotape her. I audio taped, but she didn't do anything that was audio. What she did was video. And so I didn't videotape her. And she said that I videotaped her in order to harass her. That's the third lie. I audio taped her because she was annoying and alarming me with no legitimate purpose. That's harassment, part 5. Complainant further says Mrs. Buell is constantly harassing her by other means, and these incidents have been documented. Well, there's lie number 4. I do not harass Roberta Walsh. I videotape or audio tape what she does for evidence, and you can see of these depositions that I've been through, these last 2 depositions, that you need this evidence, because if the evidence isn't there, they're going to lie, and the lawyers are going to lie. And even when the evidence is there, they're going to lie, and the lawyers are going to lie. So, Glendora's never harassed Roberta Walsh. She never pays any attention. And it's an amazing thing, you know. I never pay any attention to her. I won't speak to her. I won't look at her. And I came down the cellar, and I'm going to the locker with this big pile of files under my arm, and my back is turned. I'm going to the lawyer, and she just can't stand to be ignored, and that's when she went. And she has harassed Glendora at least 300 times. So this is very sad. This is what I say is sad. When a mother of James Walsh and of James Walsh's sister, when a mother lies. I think that's very, very sad. I know she lied, God knew she lied, and she knows she lied. And so it's a very sad thing. The cross motion was submitted Tuesday, 3 days early, and it was served Tuesday, 3 days early. And at 6 o'clock this morning, Franklin and I distributed 14 Walsh, Alpucci, Larkin logs and cross motions to the 14 apartments. And the other 11 will have to be mailed today. So we don't know how much that's going to cost, and I haven't had time to fold stuff and seal those. Those being these. It's going to cost a plenty. Cost a plenty. It's going to cost about $7 or $8. All because the law breaking of Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin. Here is the notice of motion and motion by Kevin Odell to have copies made of all of the videotapes and all of the audio tapes. A ridiculous request. Certainly they can see all of the videotapes and hear all of the audio tapes that are going to be used at the trial, which is containable. Certainly, Glendora cannot pay for them. They will have to pay for them. They will also have to find the audio tape house and the videotape house where the dubs can be made. That I just showed you was the notice of motion, and here is the affirmation thereof. And it's 2 pages. And 1 exhibit, which is the combined demand, and which is turns out to be against them instead of for them, because they didn't demand any audio tapes, and Glendora gave them the answer to their combined demand, and they chose to ignore it for a year. Okay. Now, let's try to find... This is Glendora's answer cross motion, and it's 38 pages. It's Glendora plaintiff against Daniel Walsh, Roberta Walsh, James Walsh, Nella Alpucci, Theo Alpucci, Andrew Larkin, and Kevin Larkin, Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester. Index number is 20482 of 1993. And this is a notice of cross motion to dismiss motion for more delay tactics and to prevent this case from going to trial and justice. To the Honorable Harold L. Wood. Please take notice that upon the annexed affidavit of Glendora sworn to this 22nd day of November 1994, that is yesterday, and upon all the pleadings and proceedings heretofore had herein, plaintiff will cross-move this court before the Honorable Harold L. Wood at the courthouse located at 111 Grove Street, White Plains, New York, 10601, the 30th day of November 1994 at 9:30 o'clock in the forenoon or of that day or as soon thereafter as plaintiff Glendora can be heard for an order dismissing the defendant's motion for more delay tactics and to prevent this case from going to trial and justice, dated White Plains, New York, November the 22nd, 1994. Yours in truth, Glendora, Box 416, White Plains, New York, 914-949-9495. To Kevin Odell, Esquire, at that crooked law firm, Wilson Bave, 2 William Street, White Plains, New York, 10601. Bruce Bendage, Esquire, at 399 Knollwood, White Plains, New York. That's the notice of motion. Now, here comes the motion and its affidavit. Glendora, being duly sworn, deposes and says that her reasons for cross-moving this court to dismiss the motion of the lawyers of defendants Andrew Larkin and Kevin Larkin and to certify this case ready for trial follow. 1. The lawyers of defendants Larkin are guilty of inexcusable laches. 12, and the case cited is 12, Warren versus Vic Chemical Company, 1971, 4th Department, 37 AD 2nd, 913, and 325 New York Supplement, 2nd edition, 495. I'm really not going to read you those cases, because I don't think it interests you. A, the lawyers had from November 11th, 1993 to October the 30th, 1994, 1 year to ask for videotapes and audio tapes, and they failed to act upon it. B, lawyers state they asked for videotapes and audio tapes January 5th, 1994. Here is Glendora's answer. They never did anything about it, not a thing. C, at the first oral deposition, August the 22nd, 1994, Glendora showed bungling Michael Kozer 3 videotapes, a 3/4 inch, a VHS, and an 8mm. But Kozer said absolutely nothing. I showed them to him in his boxes. I don't mean I screened them for him. When, in July 1994, Glendora asked for a date certain for discovery to be completed, Conboy said nothing about videotapes and audio tapes. When Glendora cooperated with the oral deposition to Kozer's conclusion I have no further questions. I am satisfied. Koza did not ask for videotapes and audio tapes. F, lawyers are guilty of gross laches. Warren versus Vic Chemical Company. 2, Koza is guilty of asking questions at both depositions, August the 22nd, 1994 and October the 25th, 1994, where the matter sought was related to an entirely unrelated litigation. These depositions took 14 hours of our time. And Savitsky versus General Motors Company, 1972, Second Department. 3, Koza is guilty of seeking disclosure that amounted to a poke-around expedition using the disclosure process to harass and unduly burden plaintiff. Schoonheim versus Schoonheim, 1981, First Department. See, these case laws, very important because it shows you how other judges ruled on the same questions. So it's case law as opposed to statute law, which is made by the state legislature and is in the New York statutes. 4, Koza is guilty of asking questions that fail to show any relevancy to the case at bar. Savitsky versus General Motors Company. 5, Koza is guilty of being unqualified to take oral depositions, as plaintiff has noted several times in the record. 6, the demand to produce all videotapes and audio tapes is another delay tactic maliciously promulgated to prevent Glendora's case from going to trial. Lawyers of defendants are using discovery as a weapon to postpone trial and thereby are manipulating the court. Plaintiff cites all of the cases above. 7, the demand for all videotapes and audio tapes, in addition to being a year late and to being a weapon to delay justice, is unreasonable. Glendora has hundreds of videotapes, most of them 2 hours, and hundreds of audio tapes, most of them an hour. This adds up to hundreds of hours of screening. Who has the time and who has the money to pay for that time and pick out the Larkin law breaking? 8, who has the money to pay a video and audio production house the money to make dubs of same? Glendora does not. Does Larkin? Does Odell? Does General Accident? 9, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. 10, what is reasonable is for the court to certify this case is ready for trial, and when Glendora knows she is going to trial, she will gather the videotape footage she will use in the trial to flatten Larkin and his lawyers. Then Odell, Koza et al. Can pay Glendora for her time while a production house makes a dub, and they can pay the production house. That is reasonable. 11, Glendora is former pauperous already, nearly. We live on Franklin's pension and our 2 Social Security checks. Glendora has no income from her business. Glendora TV ads because she has no time to solicit business. All her time is consumed by 7 law-breaking of defendants, 5 lying lawyers, and by a court that is prejudiced and always rules in favor of the Koza group. 12, making videotape dubs and audio tape dubs is a hardship these 2 senior citizens, 66 and 75, cannot bear. 13, Odell will have to put up a $50,000 bond in case these videotapes or audio tapes are lost or damaged. They are originals and they are the only tapes of the law breaking. 14, Glendora will not let the tapes out of her sight. She will have to be paid $100 per hour for the time it takes to make dubs for Odell. 15, Odell et al. Will have to sign a release that they will not broadcast nor cablecast these tapes nor any part thereof under penalty of $30,000 fine. 16, Odell et al. Will have to provide persons to go through all the tapes and the tables of contents to pick out what they want, and they will have to pay Glendora $100 per hour to monitor this and to assist. 17, who is going to pay for all this? Glendora cannot. Is Odell? Is Koza? Is Larkin? Is General Accident? 18, all of the law breaking by defendants has been shown on TV. If Odell et al. Wanted dubs, they could have dubbed them off the cable. Defendants and their lawyers are remiss in not doing so. 19, Odell et al., because of their neglect in not taping the Larkin footage off the cable, will have to go through the yellow pages and find a video and audio production house to make the dubs. They will have to set up an appointment, check with Glendora to see if she can be there. Remember, Glendora will not let the tapes out of her view. They will have to provide a person to go to the production house while the dubs are made. It will take days and days, weeks and weeks, and months and months. They will have to pay Glendora $100 per hour to oversee that no tape is lost or damaged. 20. The issue. The issue is not Article 21 that Odell et al. Are or are not entitled to discovery. They were when the demand was timely, when they should have dealt with Glendora's answer to their combined demand January 5th, when Glendora showed Michael Koza the 3/4-inch videotape in its box, the VHS in its box, and the 8mm in its box, August the 22nd, when at the July conference Glendora asked for a date certain to be complete. The issue is that lawyers of defendants Larkin are guilty of gross laches. Again, I quote Warren versus Vic Chemical. The issue is that Odell et al. Are illegally using Article 31 as a weapon to delay Glendora's case from going to trial by jury. This court should not tolerate any more delay tactics. Court already has allowed too many delays and too many manipulations. The job of this court is justice, and for a year this court has not done its job. This action was commenced with summons and complaint filed November the 8th, 1993, and served November 11th, 1993, Veterans Day. And here it is, November 23rd, 1993, and not one thing has been accomplished. No justice has been anywhere. It's been a court of ineptitude and, I think, collusion. Point 21. Plaintiff Glendora objects to Odell's exhibit combined demand. A. Note that this combined demand says nothing about audio tapes, so Odell's claim that he made a demand for audio tapes January 5th, 1994 is a lie, and he should be sanctioned. If the court looks in its record, it will be seen that Glendora answered the demand for videotapes with all of these, this is her quote, all of these cost mucho dinero, and defendants will have to pay for dubs made. Plaintiff will not let originals out of her sight. Defendants will also have to pay plaintiff's time to have the dubs made. That was written on January the 5th, 1993. They wait until October the 31st, 1993, 10 months later, to deal with this. Then is when they should have dealt with it, and then is when they should have dealt with it in January 5th, not October 31st. And Judge Wood should have said then and there, you've had enough delay, you've had enough opportunity for your discovery. The discovery is over. That's what Judge Wood should have done. A just justice would have done that. Please note in the court's file that Karamitsos, Odell, Koza et al. Did an outrageously sloppy job on their submission of verified answers, EBT notice, and demands, for it was all form letter, hardly any of it applying to the case at bar. There was no verified answer. It never arrived until 1.5 months later, February the 23rd. It was slop start to end. They said encloses the verified answer of our client. Well, it wasn't. And it didn't arrive until February 23rd, when they sent the first thing out January 5th. They lie all the time. And the court, please note, no copy in defiance of the CPLR was sent to the court. Like all of their work, it is a sloppy, infantile job. It was not an accident quote, as they kept saying in their forms. It was intentional. There was no bodily injury, so there were no medical reports. In conclusion, Kevin Odell's exhibit as proof, they asked for a quote, all videotapes and all audio tapes January 5th, 1994 must be struck from the record. Lawyers for Larkin lied about Glendora, has never verified our answer, and proof is enclosed. Here's what I told you about the videotape. Here's the verified answer, and it's notarized. And here is the what I said about the tapes are mucho dinero. And here's the affidavit of service. And where is the remote control? Years gone by with no justice, and so tortfeasors Larkin and Koza and Odell in this court have managed to delay justice another month. The month of November has gone into this motion by Odell. That will be another month of exposure on TV, of exposing our justice system for what it is. The decision won't be until December 15th, and that will delay justice another month all the way through December. Glendora will protest it all over the state. And the year 1994 will be over. This case was filed Armistice Day 1993 and has rolled over to Armistice Day 1994, and justice has not been done. The job of this court is justice. The job has not been done. In a year, the job has not been done. By January 18, 1995, a nice new year, by the Trial Readiness Conference, January the 18th, 1995, nothing will be done. And justice will be suffered and stiffed another month. Dirty delay tactics. Isn't it obvious to the court that you are being hoodwinked? That what is going on is nothing but dirty delay tactics? That the Kozer liars know they cannot win on the issue, on the merits, because the evidence, written, audiotaped, and videotaped, is too monumental? That they cannot win at trial before a jury, and their only desperate hope is to delay trial? Even a pro se can see that. Point 23. It is a lie that no prior motion for similar relief has been made. Glendora got an order from Judge Wood in July 1994 for a date certain that discovery would be complete, and that date certain was August the 22nd, 1994. It was set so far ahead because Kevin Comboy pleaded he would be on vacation until August the 22nd, 1994, and then he never even did the deposition. Michael Kozer did it. He was totally inept. Glendora objected pursuant to CPLR 3118. Kozer lied that Glendora did not answer all of his questions. Glendora did answer all of his questions. Why didn't Kozer at all ask for videotapes and audio tapes back then? Because they knew they could ask for another deposition October 25th, and Judge Wood would cooperate with said delay tactic. They knew they could count on him to be on their side. When Glendora cooperated fully with the October 25th deposition, 4 hours of her time plus 4 hours of her husband's time, the Kozer group had to find another delay, and this is the audio tapes and the videotapes. And Judge Wood, ever on their side, ever unilateral, would grant them this. They had since Armistice Day 1993 to ask for audio tapes and videotapes. The suit was filed November 8, 1993. On October 31st, 1994, the Kozer group asked for videotapes and audio tapes. Judge Wood immediately give them another 2 weeks to ask for audio tapes and videotapes. He gave them until November 14, 1994. He always gives them what they ask for. He never gives Glendora anything she asked for. Why didn't the Kozer group ask for videotapes and audio tapes in November 1993, December 1993, January 1994, February 1994, March 1994, April, May, June, July, August, September, October 1994, all that time? Do you think that's right, that a court should do that? Point 24. And after that, they get the audio tapes and videotapes. It is a sure thing Judge Wood will grant their motion, that's sure. And what will the next delay be? What will the next delay be that Judge Wood will grant? Point 25, another cheat. The return date is November 30th. Glendora has to have her answering affidavit in by November 23rd. That's today, Thanksgiving Eve. Glendora did not receive the paper she has to answer until November 16th, 1994, Wednesday. So she has just 6 days to answer. Is that fair? And in the consistent unfairness of this court, Glendora will have no time to answer the Kozer reply affidavit. In addition to all this, Glendora has to have her answer to the minutes of the deposition of October the 25th, submitted by November 30th. I have to answer all this. By November 30th. In addition to all this, Glendora, 7 defendants violate your rights. This is how it goes. You go to court seeking justice. Then you become a victim of a prejudiced court and crooked lawyers who twist the court around their little fingers. It's a great record. Glendora will have to drop her life, her business, eating, sleeping, grocery shopping, her TV show, and everything else to answer this motion, which Judge Wood should have precluded October 31st, 1994, with saying to Adele, "You've had your chance at discovery over and over again. Enough of this. Get yourself ready for trial. Stop the delay tactics." That's what Judge Wood should have said. But Judge Wood never rules against the Kozer, Comboy, Karamitzos, McGrath, Odell gang. And he always rules against Glendora. Recall that when Comboy never produced the insurance agreement, Judge Wood did nothing. Recall that when Michael Kozer lied about the Andrew Larkin address, Judge Wood did nothing. Recall that Glendora asked Judge Wood to protect her from the injuries that continued maliciously and intentionally and do to this day. After the lawsuit was commenced by granting her 3 orders to show cause, Judge Wood denied all 3 of them. And recall that he denied them when not one defendant nor a lawyer appeared on them, when not one defendant nor lawyer opposed any one of the 3 orders to show cause. Point 26, Glendora questions that Kevin Odell is fully familiar with the facts and circumstances of this matter, as he declared he was under penalty of perjury. 1, he has never spoken to Glendora. 2, he has never visited the premises. 3, he did not attend the depositions August 22nd and October 25th. He has never appeared except October the 31st in a lawsuit that was commenced November 8th, a year earlier, with service of a summons and complaint with notice to answer in 20 days or a default judgment would be taken. This complaint was never answered until January 30th, 1994. At the October 31st conference, he said a motion had been made to preclude Glendora from videotaping and audiotaping the October 25th deposition. No such motion had ever been made. That was a lie. So he is not fully aware of the facts and circumstances, and he's perjured himself. Nothing new for these lawyers. Koza perjured himself on the Larkin address. Point 27, Glendora provided her answer to all papers served upon her by Karamitzos. This law firm, in addition to its sloppy work, its worn-out form letters that do not apply to Glendora's case at all, its lazy, infantile methods, lied for months that Glendora did not answer. Well, Glendora did answer. Point 28, this law firm tried to delay trial by scheduling a deposition with Glendora. She fully cooperated, but after they broke all 6 appointments, Glendora caught on and asked Judge Wood on June 3rd, 23rd, 1944 for a conference to set a date certain, complete discovery. She got the date certain, August 22nd, 1994, but Judge Wood went back on his word. Point 29, Odell lies, respectfully submitted a demand for any video or audio tape held in the possession of the plaintiff was made on January 5th, 1994. There was no demand for audio tapes on January 5th, 1994. This is a lie. And to date, the plaintiff has saw fit to vehemently announce to the world that she has videotapes and audio tapes which confirm her claims but not produce same in response to that demand. Lie. There was no demand for audio tapes. Glendora responded to the demand. Lying lawyers never met her terms. Point 30, and how come lying lawyers never said anything about videotapes January 5th, 1994 to October 31st, 1994 equals 10 months? How come? Because they got desperate after the depositions worked for another delay tactic. How come? Because they got desperate after the depositions worked for another delay tactic. Odell distorts, twists, and beclouds with his defendant's outstanding demand for videotapes and audio tapes. Such deception is an embarrassment to the Supreme Court archives. Point 31, and would you like to know something else about this law firm? Did you know they never submitted to the court the paper they served on Glendora in violation of CPLR? The court had never even heard of these jokers. It was Glendora who submitted papers in their regard for the first time. Point 32. In fact, this court was sending copies to a law firm in Larchmont, having got mixed up with the Hubbard case. This court and this law firm have a lot in common, too much in common. Point 33. It is 1:41 p.m. Franklin has come home. He has to wash the Lincoln all alone while Glendora defends herself against 7 lawbreakers, 5 lying lawyers, and an inept judge and a malicious law clerk, 14-1. Franklin has to wash the Lincoln all alone when Glendora should be helping him. He is 75 and Glendora is 66, 14 people fighting 2 senior citizens on pension and Social Security. This is what Franklin offered his life for on D-Day, June the 6th, 1944. Point 34. I can't find the remote here. All these papers on top of it. So much for Odell's declaration, quote, fully familiar with the facts and circumstances of this case. His paragraph 5, his page 2 says the deposition was October 26, 1994. So much is this for being, quote, fully informed and aware, unquote. The EBT examination before trial was October 25th, 1994. But Judge Wood will let this slip by, as he has all the other defects Glendora has listed. 5. So much for Odell's declaration under penalty of perjury. Let's find the microphone here. Point 36. About Odell's paragraph 6. Here's page 2. As the court is aware, the plaintiff has saw fit to audio tape court conferences and her 2 examinations before trial dated August the 22nd, 1994 and August the 26th, 1994. Glendora believes that is has seen, not has saw. Does he know the law any better than he knows our language? Carlucci, please note. Is that ungrammatical enough for you? You know, Carlucci is the law clerk who's always talking about typing on both sides of this page, talking about, he rules on a lawsuit if it's typed on both sides of the page of a paper, and single space, and on grammar. So that's small enough for you, Carlucci, that he says has saw instead of has seen. Point 37, what does this mean? The plaintiff has further made the court and numerous other individuals in and out of the court system through her newsletters that she has video and audio tapings which allegedly confirm her claims. I don't know what that means. Point 39, at the first deposition, August the 22nd, 1994, Glendora and Franklin brought a copy box about 1.5 feet wide, about 1 foot deep, and about 2 feet long, full of Walsh, Alpucci, Larkin files that also contained a 3/4 inch, 30-minute videotape, a VHS 1/2 inch videotape, 2 hours, and an 8mm videotape, 2 hours. Glendora, at that deposition, shown Michael Koza each of these tapes and stated that the record of the law-breaking of these hoodlums was on all three formats. Koza said nothing. The question is why Michael Koza did not say at that time that he wanted videotapes and audio tapes. Doesn't this strike you as slightly suspicious? But Glendora expects Judge Wood will let this go by, as he has all the other defects Glendora has listed. Point 39. This is the second time Odell has tried this deception. Combined demand dated January 5th, 1994 was also served upon the plaintiff. Item 4A called for inter alia all videotapes under the control of the plaintiff. To date, the plaintiff has failed to respond to this demand and therefore is in default of same. That is a lie. I responded to it then. I told him that this cost mucho dinero, that this took a lot of time, that Glendora would not let the originals out of her sight, that Glendora would have to be paid for watching the videotapes, and that they would have to pay for the dubs. A copy of defendant's combined demand dated January the 5th. Glendora answered that demand. I just told you that, told them their terms, but lying lawyers did nothing about the tapes until October 31st, 10 months later. Is that right? Yeah. When they desperately needed another delay tactic. Point 42, Odell writes on his page 3, he forgot to number his paragraphs. Pursuant to the rule of disclosure, defense counsel is entitled to be provided with a copy of these video audio tapes. If the plaintiff refuses to provide defense counsel with a copy of the same, we ask that the plaintiff be precluded from using the same at the trial and to refrain from referring to same or using same in any newspaper, writings, or television productions to be aired to the public. Well, let's take the first part first. Now the real motive rears its ugly head. They know the videotapes and audio tapes are going to win the case for Glendora. Videotapes and audio tapes do not lie. They show what these seven lawbreakers did. Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin. If Glendora does not produce the videotapes and audio tapes, she will be precluded from using them at trial? Well, we shall see. So Glendora, if ordered, will not refuse to provide the videotapes and audio tapes, but the lawyers will be sorry that they asked, because it's going to take so much time and so much money for them to make dubs, and it's going to cost them so much money to pay for Glendora's time. Point 43. What is this about referring to